Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Slip in here and we'll get this bill signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 76, Immigration Matters, authored by Senator Liz Brown, sponsored by Representative J.D. Prescott. Good to go? The way this works, Liz, you get this bill. You get it. Okay. JD?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Todd? You put a lot of effort into it. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we've done a lot of bills this year, and obviously the ones that have significance in terms of their impact, we highlight in a ceremonial way. On day one, as governor, I made it clear that Indiana would not be a safe haven for illegal immigration. For 4 years, open borders turned every state into a border state. When I was in the U.S. Senate, went down there twice. It dominated the time there, and finally, we fixed it. Hoosiers have seen the drugs and the crime that come when our federal laws are not enforced. I took action immediately, partnering with the federal authorities to enforce our nation's most fundamental laws. Empowered the Indiana Department of Homeland Security to make arrests and issue detainers. Indiana State Police were empowered to assist federal immigration authorities in their work. We partnered with DHS and ICE on Operation Midway Blitz to remove illegal aliens driving trucks through Indiana's highways, and look at some of the calamities we've had here right in our own state due to other states issuing CDLs that weren't grounded in safety and training. Terrible consequences. The Fairness Act is the next step. I'm glad the General Assembly has now given us even more tools to enforce the law. Requires every governmental body in Indiana to honor ICE detainer requests. It makes clear that no city, no county, and no campus in our state can be a sanctuary for illegal immigration. It holds employers accountable, which is important. Businesses can no longer knowingly hire illegal aliens, but those who use E-Verify in good faith are protected. That's a practical part of the bill. This law ensures that we have the tools to make sure the law is followed everywhere in Indiana, because we've had incidents across the state. I want to thank Senator Liz Brown and Representative J.D. Prescott for their leadership on this issue, and they're going to be happy to answer any questions on the particulars of this bill out in the hallway after we're done with this and some other things I'm sure you're going to ask me about. I want to thank Todd Rokita for his stalwart leadership on immigration enforcement. He's never wavered on it, and even though we had to bring this together in a bill, it had to make sure it was getting a lot of input to be a good bill. Thank you, Todd. Indiana will enforce America's most fundamental laws because our highest duty is to keep Hoosiers safe. And my highest responsibility as governor is public safety. So I'll take any questions on this or other things you might have on your mind.
What is your response to the Illinois deal to keep the bears there following?
You want to start with that, don't you? So I think that's a classic example of when I didn't realize they've been asking to do something for like 5 to 6 years. 3 years is when they turned up the heat. And it was heat asking their governor, their legislature, and of course, the city of Chicago. Crickets, nothing. They came to us 6 months ago, and look at the time they squandered. And we made it easy. I coined the phrase that I think resonated across the country that's helped us in other areas. We move at the speed of business. And that honest conversation we had should have cued them there that they needed to do something other than adjourning without, any result. I think that this puts the punctuation on the fact that they were doing their due diligence all along. And I expect them to probably make some formal announcement, maybe now in less than a month, where I thought it might be a month or two. Yes, go ahead.
Governor, then what is your message to the Chicago Bears?
Where would you rather be the next 50 years? In a place that runs like Indiana, AAA credit rating, where you get a lot more stadium built for the money you're going to invest, where you've got friendly guidelines to have a business in general, and to where you're not going to be taxed out of existence. So I think that is what they're actually looking at. I think a lot of what they were doing was just giving them the chance to put another offer on the table. And I think the fact that it fell apart with all that time, 6 years, 3 years, and then a long session that adjourned, I think that tells the whole story.
Governor, what do you say about the
proclamation on
Lieutenant
Nuclear
Governor's?
Families Month. What message does that send to people who maybe the grandparents are raising the kids, maybe the parents are divorced?
It sends no message other than the nuclear family is important. And just like when we made adjustments to DEI, I met with all the stakeholders that didn't like what we did there. Obviously, that got complicated. It didn't make sense. And this isn't about any other statement other than the nuclear family is important. You're going to have others that might say otherwise, but that's not the case.
Speaking of statements, do you agree or disagree with Lieutenant Governor's statement, I hate Islam, and what message do you
So
think it says to
I've told many, I had to navigate through a minefield a lot more difficult than state reporters in being in state government. It was 6 years in the Senate. That was a constant battle of making sure you knew the subject matter. And if you know the subject matter, they're never going to get you on the essence of what you're talking about. And then how you articulate something. Micah was making a point that he probably regrets in that fashion because it's taken away from the essence of, if there's a religion that is using violence and doing things that doesn't make sense to most religions, saying it in a way that brings up a word like hate, you probably just lost the impact of the point you were trying to make. I avoided that religiously for the time I've been in this job. And a lot of times it's just think before you speak and make sure when you do say something, you're not kind of diminishing the point you're making in the first place. Wouldn't have said it that way, he'll have to figure out how to get around it because that's probably not what he intended to do.
Governor, related to the immigration
Yeah.
issues, we've heard from Senator Andre Carson and other detainees at the Miami Correctional Facility saying conditions are deplorable, bad there. What is your response to this criticism?
So conditions, I'd check with whoever's running the facility from the state, and I think they'd say otherwise. You hear that a lot across the country, but anything, even when you're holding detainees, your own prisoners, and we've had other issues with our Department of Corrections, and we will get those fixed and ferreted out if in fact they are real, because that's a big part of state government. I think it's got a lot of room for improvement, and our DOC across the country is recognized for how well it's done on adjusting people through workforce and doing things while they're in prison to hit the ground running when they get out. Anything that needs improvement, I said when I took this job on, state government is going to be running more effectively. It's running so much more effectively already by taking information like that, improving it, that we're saving Hoosiers a fortune in terms of a dividend that we're getting from running government better, including stuff like that, not just on the financial side, on what you're doing to do it well. That's a dividend that we'll all reap over time. So if that's valid, we'll look into it just like other things. When I hear things aren't working in the agency, we don't hide it, we fix it.
Governor Braun, do you intend to extend the state's gas tax holiday in the future?
You're going to know about that here in a day or two. And I would say, again, I'll go back to what I said a moment ago. The fact that we can do it, and we are run in a way with a AAA credit rating, and we've got rainy day funds. And by the way, when those taxes went up due to the cost of fuel going up, we were collecting more. We're a state that can do it, unlike almost 49 others who didn't. Because if you're well run, you're going to be able to get through pickles like this, even though roads and bridges will be the next conversation that we have as a state, as Hoosiers, because we haven't addressed it since we passed that bill in 2017. It's a whole additional conversation. But if you've got record economic development and growth, that's been a function of looking at that from Main Street to actually the companies like an Eli Lilly that you're lucky you have here, that want to reinvest more here, we could be getting a dividend on each end of the ledger. More revenue coming in, which it is, and saving money because we're running government more efficiently. And that enables us to navigate through something like this very simply.
Governor, how much money is the gas tax suspension costing us, and will it, at some point begin to impact how much we can invest into our roads?
No, because I answered that question just a moment ago. We would be able to replenish it. It's costing us roughly 90 million on the excise tax, roughly 50 million on the use tax. And when you are now looking at when they retooled us with an accurate budget forecast, I knew that one in April was faulty because it didn't make sense with anything we could see happening. We've now got one of the rosiest long-term forecasts that we've ever had as a state, and thank a great team here throughout state government, especially the folks that have helped me craft legislation, legislators that have taken it up. We've got, think of this, we're growing twice as fast as our neighbors to the west. That's why people are moving from there to here. They're voting with their feet. Twice as fast as Ohio, 3 times as fast as Kentucky, and probably the state, along with Illinois, that has policies that don't make sense because businesses aren't doing well there. We're growing 6 times as fast as Michigan. As long as we are practical and common sense in what we do, that is why we were the only state in the northern half of the country that had net migration into it. And you know where most of them were coming from? Illinois, a few from Michigan, and we got the fastest growing city in the Midwest in Fort Wayne. A lot of good news there, a lot of good things happening. Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, Governor,